We're live. We're going live on Facebook. Hi, Instagram. Okay. Just writing a little comment. So, hi everyone. Sorry for the little delay. We had a little hiccup in getting everything to go live, but we're on. I'm here with Michelle.
Hi.
So today we have some questions that we're going to answer for you, and we're hoping that this different time of us being live is going to help you know, some of you guys to maybe ask while you're online right now. So take your okay. All right, so I guess what we'll do is any questions that you have, Michelle? Anything that's come up this week for you?
Not that I can think of, but I see already some good ones rolling in.
Okay, all right, cool. So I guess we'll just go right into it since we started a little late anyway. And that's my dog moaning in the background, so sorry. Okay, let's see. Let's open up our chat. Okay, so I'll take the first one here. I have sprained my ankle while running and it's now swollen. What should I do? So good question. I think the first step to how you handle an injury kind of helps to pave the path of how you recover. So if you've just sprained your ankle, what you want to do is, I would always just get it examined by someone like us, a physical therapist, an orthopedic physical therapist, or your orthopedist. So you could see your doctor, they can refer you to an orthopedist. Or if you have a good relationship with one already, you can go directly there. Let them examine it. They can tell you if it's a mild, moderate, or severe sprain. You'll know by the amount of swelling that you have and how much trouble you have with, you know, trying to move it, if you can bear weight on it. Usually with a sprained ankle, you can bear weight on it, you can walk on it. But the severity of the pain probably is directly related to how bad you sprained it. So I would do those few things. And I think last week we spoke about that necessarily resting it, icing it, compressing it, and elevating it isn't necessarily, well, the ice part isn't necessarily your go-to. You want your body to, you want that area of injury to get inflamed. I know that sounds kind of crazy to say because we always talk about how to do the opposite. How do we get rid of swelling? How do we minimize inflammation? What are good anti-inflammatories that we can either take naturally to speed up our healing? So the first few days, you want to move it. You want to not immediately ice it. What did you think about that when we went over that last week about how not to?
I think it was very different than from what people have been hearing. You know, I feel for like years on end, like the rice method, rice, rest, ice, compress, elevate. Like that's all you're supposed to do every time you see a swollen area on your body. But I do think that, you know, it makes sense. And I don't think it could cause any harm. It's what your body's naturally doing.
Yep.
So, you know, I think if someone's in that position and they do not do the rice method and kind of just let it swell out and do its own thing, they'll realize that like there isn't any harm to it.
Sure. And I think it doesn't mean to say like, you know, just let your ankle be this or your body, whatever point it is, just stay puffy. You can certainly, you know, massage it with your hands. You can just the movement itself helps to, you know, keep your joint mobile so that it doesn't get stiff. And it helps to move the fluid around as well. So movement is the number one thing.
This question's really good. And I think, we've been filming a lot of it, putting it up on our social media, and I've been seeing a lot of it in the office. Can you explain what the cupping procedure is?
Oh, sure. So I actually just I grabbed one just in case we want to go over any of it today. So this is a silicone cup. It's just very easy for us in the clinic to use right away. And it's easily what's the word for it? Like you can easily manipulate it with your hands. There are the more professional ones where
Like plastic.
No, they could be plastic or even made out of glass. But
Yeah.
they have their own valve built in.
And then you like pump the air out.
Pump the air out. You suck
Yeah.
the air out. Yeah. So this is just we can use it very easily in the clinic. And it works great. Like it's just a piece of plastic. It's shaped like this. This is a small one. So you'll pick the size depending on what muscle or area you want to release. Of course, the smaller the area, say the tendon, muscle, fascia, you'll use a small one. A bigger area, maybe like your quads, maybe a medium to large size one. And of course, if you are a bigger person, you'll probably opt for a bigger one. But basically what you do, and I'll just demonstrate it on my forearm muscles, you put it on the area that you want to do the cupping technique to. Have the person relax their muscles, compress the air out. Like I'm just sort of having one little corner open where the air can escape out. And then the more of the air I escape, the stronger the cupping pull is going to be. So, I mean, it's stuck on me right now. It could pop off if I just move and maybe sneak some air out. But that's pretty much it. And then I would say at the very least, come in, see us, have us go through a training like a tutorial with you in person. I'm never a big fan of do it yourself at home with something like this. There's so many different structures in and around that are not always deep in our, deep under the muscles, but sometimes nerves are a little bit more superficial. So you never really want to mess around with nerves. You never really want to potentially put it on an area where you suspect an injury that's not minor, that could be more severe. You don't necessarily want to put it on an area where you have maybe a lot of varicosity, so you have some vascular issues, or where you suspect there's an infection, things like that. So, and then also if the skin is prone to breaking, I know for us, we don't see too much of that in the clinic, but people always have certain things going on. So if somebody, their skin is either frail, I wouldn't opt for something like this because it does induce a lot of pressure. Think of hooking your body part up to the vacuum. So it's that type of suction. And then what we do is we'll place the cup on and we'll just sort of tug at it to further release around the muscle and tendon. And then sometimes when we put a little bit of like lotion on, we're able to kind of glide it up and down the arm. So it really works well to sometimes mobilize chronic swelling that's just been kind of sitting there between the skin and the muscle layer. It's just stagnant, so it needs to be mobilized. And so this, if you get it to move with that pressure on the area, it helps to mobilize it. It also works extremely well on fascial restrictions, which are the coverings around our organs, around our muscles, around the tendons, everything that helps to hold things in place internally that we don't see or we're not aware of. Because you don't have just muscles that sit under the skin and they just kind of are there. They're all covered and sort of encapsulated and held into a nice structural positioning by the fascia. And that's why sometimes when you release fascia in one area down here, you might get a release of pain up elsewhere. because the fascial restrictions are so tightly embedded into one another. And then of course, like treating trigger points, this is great. Muscle tightnesses, helping to do any type of muscle tendon release with movement. This can also work great. So yeah, that's how the cupping technique is done. It's pretty simple, but you just have to know, basic rules of anatomy and physiology and, orthopedics and not, put it on an area that it could negatively affect. So yeah, I think I knew that was going to be your favorite question, Michelle. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if we went over this type of question in other live streams. I know we've definitely touched upon this on our like YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Sure.
What are hand exercises that you recommend for people who work long hours on like computers or iPads or let's just say electronics?
Okay, so computers are going to be a little bit different. So last week we talked about how if most of us use laptops, prop up the laptop high on a stack of books. You don't need any fancy equipment to kind of make it work. A few books. I don't think people use yellow pages anymore, do they? It used to be like the
I don't think so.
I know you're young, I'm old, but so books, and then get an external mouse and an external keyboard so that laptop height is up, so it's level and perfectly oriented for good neck posture and you don't and head posture, and then at the same time you protect your arm and shoulder posture by keeping your elbows down with an external keyboard. So that if you work on a computer, full time, do that. Absolutely. If you have a desktop, that's a different situation. You can optimize your ergonomic setup more easily because a monitor is separate from the keyboard, et cetera, et cetera. But specific to if you're doing a lot of computer work, texting is different because it's a lot of this. So you elevate too much here, your head's down too much here, and it's for hours, right? Because you have to add up all the minutes that you do. So if you ever look at like the screen time of like how
it's
much
hours,
yeah,
like hours a week,
and it breaks it down per week, right? So that big that big number that you get when you get your screen time report at the end of each week from your iPhone, at least I'm guessing other phones do too. So say it's 5 hours, easily 5 hours, I think, for an average person, if not more. And so if it's a lot of this, you just want to do it a more of a setup like this. So the phone is in front, almost level with where your shoulder height, eyesight is. And then you text this way. This just try to not do. I mean, we all do it, but try to not do it as much. That should be helpful. And then as far as typing, having like a wrist support just in front of the keyboard is great because then you really rest your wrist on it and then you do the typing. So it's less of you're taking away one type of strain from having to hold the arms up. So you just rest them down, you relax your shoulders, and then you do a lot of the typing like this. I don't know if you could see me, but the wrist support will support your wrist right here so that you can really let go of the arm, and then the fingers are doing a lot, all the work. And it puts your wrist in an ideal position so that you're not creating as much strain, especially to say like the carpal tunnel area. So it supports it and it gives you more optimal wrist positioning for doing all that typing. Now, when you do a lot of typing, of course, like we always say, I mean, people are probably sick of hearing it, take breaks, take, rest breaks very often, every 20 to 30 minutes if you can. And that's a good way, and that's a great opportunity to step away, stand up, do some stretches. So I really love, so you use your finger flexors when you type, right? So I really love doing I call it like a prayer stretch, but it's a good way to stretch your finger flexors and your forearm muscles. So put both hands together, you line them up nice, right? And then you don't want you to shrug your shoulders. I'm just trying to be in the camera, sorry. So you want your shoulders relaxed and you want to kind of just drop your wrist down, almost like you want to get them lower than where your elbows are, right? And as soon as you head in that direction, you'll feel the stretch. And you don't want to, do it exactly like it might look like on me, because it depends on my flexibility versus yours. But you just kind of want to go down so that you get a nice medium amount of pull, okay? And then your goal is to keep your palms together, okay? Not this. And then what I would do next is have one hand stretch the other hand. So right now, this arm is pushing my other fingers into extension and helping to give them even a deeper stretch. And that works really nicely. And then we'll go the other way. You getting a good pull, Michelle? Or
I am.
yeah? Oh, wow. Okay. And then sometimes I'll like play around with it and I'll go like this. I'll do one finger at a time. And this is a nice way to do it because you never want to overpower your fingers. They're so much smaller with your whole, the meaty part of your other hand, right? So this way, there's not that much force one set of fingers can put on the other. So it's a nice, safer way to stretch. Okay. And then, of course, this one. Everyone knows this one. Extend your elbow. And then point your fingers down toward the floor. And with the other hand, you wrap around and pull. Nice, gentle tug. This is interactive today. It's good.
Yeah, it is.
And then I know that the question was specific to the fingers and hands. The other thing is you want to keep your grip strength really strong. Okay, this way. So you want to be able to grip. And then your forearm muscles. You want to be able to have good strength this way. So sometimes it's just kind of, if you think of the amount of force you create when you wring out a wet towel, that type of thing. So you want to make sure that your hand and your forearm muscles are that strong to be able to do something like that. So of course we use dumbbells in the clinic. You can always use TheraBand. I think you could, grab something light in your house. Like I wouldn't say maybe a can of soup, it's about a pound or so. So that could work. And yeah, so keep them flexible, take frequent rest breaks, stretch them out specific to the areas that you're working. And then of course, the other best thing, number one thing is have really good ergonomics at your computer station. And if that's something you guys need assistance with, we can make, that available to you with a handout that we have in our clinic of how to set up like your monitor height, your desk height, the way your chair is set up, right down to the floor of what angle your hips and knees should be angled for really good ergonomics. So. So should we maybe we'll do the question about the knee pain?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this one says, my knee hurts every time I try and jog. What could be the reason? Maybe you read it.
Well, let me pull it up.
Okay. Did you find it?
The question is, my knee hurts every time I try and jog. What can be the reason behind this?
Okay, so there's a few to many reasons that someone's knee could hurt with jogging or running or even walking. The I could go through like all the different reasons why. I'll sort of break them down into different categories. However, and I know this is like a redundant, annoying way of me answering the question. However, I truly can't tell you what it is until I was to evaluate it. So it would just be very premature for me to just say, oh, this is probably why. No, you'd have to come in for an assessment, in which I would ask a lot of questions and try to piece together and figure out why your knee is troubling you with jogging or running. But the different reasons, potential reasons that someone's knee could hurt, or ankle or hip, it could be mobility restrictions, weak muscles, right? So that the muscles that you need to kick in aren't properly kicking in. You could have an irritation inside or just outside the joint. So something that's intra-articular, so it's inside the joint that's irritated. So for example, with the knee, it could be a meniscal problem. It could be there's a sprain of a ligament that's an underlying thing that's creating a little bit of instability. Therefore, it's changing the way your body recruits certain muscles to work. Maybe it's driving the wrong muscles to kick in versus the right muscles to work. And then all these things create a biomechanical fault with activity, whether it's walking, jogging, or running, or then you take it one level up to sprinting, and then competition. So things like that. So there's something biomechanically faulty, most likely, that's causing that, unless there was an actual injury that's caused you knee trouble. So that we can definitely discuss together and do a full evaluation and figure out. Good question.
Let me see if we can change it up to a different area of the body.
Okay.
How about my shoulder hurts when I raise my arm? What should I do?
Okay. I like that they go like right in direct. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things you can do. Just like I said before with the knee question, that would have to be examined by us. So we'd have to figure out why, your shoulder's hurting. And then finding out is the number one step. The fixing it is the number two step. So a lot of times the reason, that's where, we get misled a lot. Like, well, what's your problem? And I think people are right away go to an x-ray, and people right away go to an MRI, and then you read it and it becomes like, the end all and be all of, okay, this is my condition for life, and people get that in their head, and they're like, oh, that's it. This is my problem forever. On the contrary, no, you can certainly have a shoulder problem, figure out why it developed, take the steps and strategies to correct it, essentially, and then be better. You really, that is a reality for a lot of people that come in our doors. And that could be the same for people who are, having these same dilemmas, that just don't know that, oh yeah, rotator cuff tears heal. Sure. Yeah. Similar to what we've always spoken about together, you and I, about like people who have herniated discs. Yes, they absolutely heal. And so you can go beyond that, diagnosis and injury. So for shoulder pain, say we examine it and we find that there's just a little bit of stiffness causing that person not to raise their arm, or stiffness that doesn't allow the other muscles to fire properly. I'm sorry if I get into too much like medical jargon, just
Okay.
because so the way the body works, everything is sort of muscles sort of kick in at a certain sequence, and it's very precise. And so anything that knocks that off usually leads to a tendinopathy or chronic pain of some sort, or a situation of having trouble lifting your arm. So I think this type of thing should be evaluated to see what's creating the pain in the shoulder, preventing the arm from going up all the way. Is it a muscle issue? Is it a joint stiffness issue? Is it that the person has too much of a slouched posture? So that definitely prevents the arm from going up as high as it could. So is it more like the back posture that's affecting the shoulder movement? Is it indeed a rotator cuff tear or issue? Like, is the rotator cuff just not kicking in when it should? And so that is something we can evaluate, give you a clear diagnosis and prognosis, and then get you back to not having that problem of having pain when you raise your arm up. So in the meantime, I would say if you need just a direct answer for that question, it's schedule an appointment with us. Do that first. That's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of annoying headache with like going through testing, too much testing. And then, yeah, so sorry, that's my indirect answer for the question.
This one's a little different from stuff we've been answering.
Okay.
I feel like we're doing more like solely orthopedic, but should my child be going to physical therapy? My son is 8 years old and is not as strong as normal kids of his age. His hands and legs lack the right balance that normal kids of his age have. His standing position is also very weak. Should we take him for physical therapy? Will it further strain him? Is my biggest worry.
Okay, great question. I'm so happy that this kind of came our way. So if you notice yourself, you're the parent, so you see your kid like 24 hours a day. So if you notice that your child is not jumping or running or moving around the same as other children of his age group, and his hands and legs are lacking balance or say even coordination than his peer group, then yes, absolutely. I believe if you notice those signs, then yes, bring him in. And I've also consulted with our pediatric specialist, Dr. Christine, and she said physical therapy would absolutely be beneficial to help increase your son's strength in both his arms, legs, and his core. So that's like the core is like the foundation of where all the strength is. So I think people only think it's abdominals, right? But it's your abdominals, it's your stabilizing muscles in your back, okay? Mm-hmm. Your tushy muscle, I always call them tushy, but your gluteals, and your thigh muscles, and also your pelvic floor muscles. So that makes up our core. It's not just abdominals. I just wanted to kind of throw that in one way. And then with increased strength, his balance will improve as well. So the answer is yes. Please bring him in for physical therapy. We'll do a proper assessment and we'll address the strength issue, the lack of balance issue, and then his standing position so that we strengthen him.
Um, how about, can a change of mattress cause back pain?
Wow, that's a good one. I feel like I get this question uh, once a week by someone in the office. So absolutely, I think it's like being going on a trip and sleeping on the hotel bed, and you're like you get up a little achy or a little stiff that next day. So it's like getting a new pair of shoes. The first time you wear them, your foot's a little sore, um, or it has a few like little aches, in it. So I think you're changing the the um, the support of where your body's used to laying on. So that can kind of make you sore, but it should be short term and it should resolve itself. So I think, let me see. The question was, can a change of mattress cause back pain? Yes.
Mhm.
Temporarily, it's normal. It should resolve itself. If it does not, then um, then most likely the mattress did not cause the back pain. Let's see.
Maybe this one just because I caught myself doing it. Is it bad to like crack your knuckles or your joints?
I think no. I think this has been like an ongoing debate for decades. I think
Yeah, I don't
no.
know. I feel like everyone's like, it gives you arthritis, it's bad for
No.
you.
I think that's just a myth. I
Myth.
think you can crack your joints. I don't think you need to be nervous about cracking your joints. I think it's just habitual. I think that gas release just feels good. Even when
Yeah.
backs get cracked, I think if we don't hear the pop, we're like, oh, it didn't work. But
Hmm.
that's not true either. Um, I don't think it's bad to, do a release of the joint, and all you're doing is you're creating like almost like what we talked about, the vacuum feel of the cup, like that type of feeling inside the joint. And so it's a change in I think it's the I won't go too much into the like the physics of it,
Science.
but I think it's just a gas release inside in a closed cavity. So it creates a sound, and it's called the cavitation, and it's nothing that's harmful, so that's okay. I think, did we also have a question that if you hear your joints cracking, is that bad, right? Instead of just if you crack your joints, is that bad, right? Did we get a question like that? I thought we did. So if we did
Um,
that, I'll answer it anyway. So if you hear cracking in your joints, and I think this was a similar question that we got a few weeks ago about if my knee cracks, is that bad? I think it was about the knee.
the
If
question was, if I hear my joints crack, should I be nervous?
Oh, okay. So no, no. If it's not painful, no. If it is painful, the crack with pain together, then you should have it evaluated. Don't be nervous though. Okay. I think uh, the cracking, that crunchy feel or that like snapping feel that sometimes we get is just deep tightnesses that need to be worked out. Meaning like not worked out as in you go and exercise it out. Sorry, I should watch the way I say it. But basically they just need to be kind of released manually, whether it's by us, massage therapist, yourself. I know a lot of people just have their own like plethora of physical therapy slash chiropractic tools at home now with Amazon. I think we order everything, but so you could certainly manually release it yourself, and help to loosen up and increase mobility, and thereby reducing that like snapping sound that sometimes we get in or around our tendons and our joints. I think we have a few more good ones.
What exercises should I do after finishing a marathon?
I would say the exercise of hydration, not just water, but electrolytes. Um, Also, a really good nutritious meal, right? So you want to restore everything that was essentially depleted by that, you know, long duration exercise of a marathon. Um, and I think no exercise after a marathon. I know it's kind of like a silly question. So, I mean, could you stretch? Should you stretch? Sure. But I believe at that point, the number one thing to do is just to get all the electrolytes and the minerals that your body has lost from going on that, like, essentially like a voyage,
Mhm.
back into your body. So, uh, I wonder if there's other things that people do. I'm kind of like not on the marathon mainstream, so I'm not sure like if there's other alternatives that people do like to help get their body, help their muscles to sort of recover and rebuild. We can definitely look into that and see if there are precise things that people do now. And nothing that's just trendy or cool, but that really helps the body to repair and recover. But I would say don't look to do exercises after a marathon. And I know this person's asking like in the days after the marathon. I know they don't mean immediately. Um, so I would just say, refuel your body with good nutrients, hydration, um, replenish the lost electrolytes. That's the number one thing to do. I think this one's a good one. I am overweight and have recently started running. What are the precautions that I should take? So, great question. But the answer to it is the same answer I would give if someone was not overweight. Um, a really good warm up, like a dynamic warm up. So, even if you're before you go to start your run, you do kind of like marching in place, get some of your muscles warmed up, do some dynamic stretching. So that's exactly the opposite of lifting your leg up and holding it like that. That's called a static stretch. So like where you kind of sometimes you see runners like they're standing there and they're kicking their leg forward and back like fast. Like what the heck are they doing? And so you want to do that type of warm up though. It's good. It's dynamic. A lot of times I'll show you what I do quickly before I start running. However, being overweight doesn't mean that your body can't do the same thing as someone who's of a normal weight. The main thing to do is just do a nice dynamic warm up. What else is good to do? Wear good running sneakers. Okay. Um, what else, Michelle? I'm just trying to think. I want to make sure I'm not leaving anything out. Uh, be be very well hydrated before you run.
And I would say probably like the shoes are very important. So you don't, your feet feel supported, you're comfortable.
Sure. And I think a lot of times I catch myself and doing this. I'm like, what? You're such a jerk. Like I don't do a good job lacing the sneaker. I don't know, just probably because I'm rushing, but do a nice lace up of your sneaker. And I think I caught this from a colleague, but make sure that you have your I know, let me see if I don't want to put my leg on the table, but make sure your toes are all the way up as you do the final lace at the top, so that when your body normally goes into that position of what's called dorsiflexion of your ankle, it's not like suffocating the tendons and nerves right at the top of your foot, because that'll interrupt your running. You'll have to stop, unlace it, loosen it up, and relace it. So should I show that again, or you got it, Michelle?
I got just kind of like I guess if these are your toes pointed up as you're tying.
The whole way as much as possible. So as much as possible. So you want to, this is your foot, this is dorsiflexion, this is plantar flexion.
Uh-huh.
So you want to dorsiflex when you do that last pull and lace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that, because when you run, your toes are going to go like that, and if it's too tight in a relaxed position, when you go to do that, it's going to strain way more and like suffocate the top of your ankle. Sorry,
Okay.
I think Instagram got it, Zoom didn't. Anyway, should I do it again or it's good?
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
If you, yeah, just point your toes all the way up when you're tying the last.
So bad. I'm leaving the Facebook community out. So you want to dorsiflex all the way, lace it up nice and tight here. And then this way, when you run and your toes lift up with each step, you have like a good feel at the top here, so that if you've laced it too tightly in a neutral position like this, then the ankle's gonna like suffocate here.
Okay.
It's pressure on the tendons. It's gonna create a bad rub, and it's gonna put pressure on the nerves there too.
Okay.
So, so good shoe wear, good hydration, a good warm up. So a lot of times, I'm trying to think what would be the best active warm up for running. If you make time for it, you could do a good 15 minutes of going like head to toe, and that's probably the most ideal. I know that's tough for all of us. Sometimes we only have 15 minutes to work out. So I think if you could do a dynamic warm up of maybe this is something like we can create a little video for, just because it's between the two cameras, it'll be tough to do. But sometimes I just stand, I'll twist my body, left and right without moving my feet, so that forces my feet to stretch. So even though I'm twisting at my pelvis and my back and my hips, it's flattening one of my feet and arching the other. So it's helping to stretch the feet the muscles into the feet. Then I'll go the other way. And I just kind of do that like this, just dynamically. I'm just kind of going back and forth like this. And then sometimes I'll do the side hip thing. And then lately what's been helping a lot is I'll stagger my stance, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. And I'll sort of, I'll hold this position. I'll hold my abdominals tight, and I'll do a standing pelvic tilt with one leg that's back, this one, and one leg that's forward, this one. Hold on, sorry. So I'm in a staggered position. 1 foot's forward, 1 foot's back, and I'm just doing pelvic tilts. I'll do 10 this way, and then I'll switch feet and I'll do 10 this way. And what that does is it helps to pull not only some of your quad muscles, but your inner thigh muscles, which is super duper important with running. What else? Yeah, I think that's my quick little warm up, and I don't have time. When I have time, I'll go through like my hips, my thoracic spine. What am I leaving out? Definitely calf muscles, but I try to do them again, not just static, but like a dynamic movement. So, let's see.
How about?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what I wanted to say? So if you're just starting a running program, and I'm not sure if that last question kind of was alluding to this, just go slow and steady. Like, doesn't mean run slow, but start at a good pace that you can maintain, and then increase like your mileage a little bit at a time. And in between the days of running, your body will let you know if it can handle it. So I think that's the other big point with beginning a running program or being worried about your body type and running.
I think we have 1 or 2 left.
Okay.
I had an ankle ligament tear a year back, which is not healed completely. What should be the reason? What could be the reason? Sorry.
Okay, sure. Good question. I believe if it's been a year, the ankle ligament has healed. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks, or a little bit longer, depending on your age, your health, if you smoke or not, if you have diabetes or not, certain other factors that come into play. But a year out, yes, that ligament has healed. However, what sometimes happens is your body goes into a protective movement pattern of walking differently, moving differently, or the ankle joint or a joint above it or below it could be a little stiff, not moving well. So creates more strain on the area that does move, and that becomes the area that gets something gets irritated in. Usually that becomes the area where there's strain. So what could be the reason for the pain is stiffness somewhere. Could even be in the foot and not just at the ankle, because we have a lot of different joints in the foot itself. Don't ask me how many bones we have. Michelle will tell you. She's a grad student, so that's a good question for her. But could be a joint that's stiff or a few joints that are stiff. Weakness, okay, of our lower leg muscles. So our inverters, our everters, our dorsiflexors, our plantar flexors, or it could be that we are lacking some proprioception, which is very common after a tear or ligament sprain. And so that needs to be like retrained. So, and that's just how much control your foot has. So if you go walking on the beach, the sand, your foot goes into divots and it moves around more. So your body handles that. It has mechanisms built in to be able to keep your balance so that you don't fall all the time. If you're on the subway or on a train, same thing. That's your body's proprioception handling the different movement. And then also just being able to hold a steady balance when you balance on one leg, or if you play sport and you go out for a layup and you're on one leg for that one or 3 seconds in time. So all those things are factors in why, or what could be the reason for your ankle still not feeling 100%.
Mm-hmm. And I think the one we had left was, what can I do to counter the numbness in my neck and shoulders?
Okay, great question. We treat this problem so much. Trying to think if I can summarize the main causes for numbness. Now, the numbness is in the neck and shoulders. What can I do to counter numbness in my neck and shoulders? It's not a common area for numbness to be in the neck and the shoulders. What's more common is the numbness to make its way down into the fingers, arm, or the hand somewhere. I'm not sure if they just didn't type it out correctly, because however, if you have a trigger point in the neck or shoulder area, or a different area, it could always refer that type of feeling, like a numbness or tingly feeling. So I'm not saying that the question wasn't correct, but I'm going to answer it, I guess, different ways. So if it's just numbness in the neck and shoulders, most likely there's an irritated trigger point somewhere. So a trigger point is like a hyper sensitive area in a part of your muscle. And it gives rise to pain, tightness, like a knot feeling, in your back, upper back area around your shoulder blades. It hurts, you twist, it hurts without movement. It can refer pain. Sometimes people get pain that gets referred up, in so many different areas. Sometimes a trigger point here can refer pain down here into the arm and the hand. And so we actually, I use, we have a trigger point, a few of them. We have a few guides that we use in the clinic, because sometimes patients will come in and they'll say, my elbow hurts. Okay. And what happened to your elbow? Nothing happened to my elbow, but my elbow hurts and my elbow kills, right? So upon doing our assessment, we find that it's either, a shoulder problem, or it's referred from a muscle, like a rotator cuff muscle back here, or another muscle like in the upper mid back area. And so we use that guide sometimes to be able to see, okay, this is where they're describing their pain, almost like if they colored it on a body diagram. And we sort of backtrack it to see what different muscles refer pain to that one specific area. So that's cool always to see. Maybe we can get a graphic of that. But if this question is more about numbness into, say, down the arm somewhere, elbow, forearm, hand, fingers, then you need to have your neck, upper back, and which kind of covers this whole area as well. This part of your neck as well, like the side, not just the back, evaluated. There's so many different structures that could be eliciting the pain into the hand or down the arm. And that's such a common thing that we get in the clinic. We see that all the time. Sometimes it's a muscle trigger point, like we spoke about before. Sometimes it's a pinched nerve at the neck. Sometimes it's an old chronic neck dysfunction. And what happens is, with any chronic conditions, your body becomes very protective in nature of that area. So if it's a chronic neck condition, you might just have less mobility in the neck. And with that, this is where the nerves come out. So if the nerves are not that they need to be as like they move around like the tendons and the muscles do, but if they don't have a good flow of the fluid inside of them, inside their coverings, they sometimes need to be mobilized. And I know you probably have heard the terminology neuromobilization or nerve flossing. What else do you hear? Probably leaving one out, but that's what that refers to, is just sort of mobilizing the nerves. So sometimes that's something that's warranted, but the reasons for it could be a cervical spine issue, a pinched nerve in the cervical spine, a trigger point, and a weird tightness locally somewhere in the arm. So, and that's sometimes we refer to it as a nerve entrapment. So say you have, and this is probably the most widely known one, carpal tunnel syndrome. So here's the area of where your carpal tunnel is. And so you have your median nerve right deep into there. And so when there's an undue pressure there, it irritates the nerve and gives you numbness, tingling, and if it gets severe enough, you lose some mobility or you get some weakness in your hand. That's a classic nerve entrapment syndrome. Another one could be up this way. Another one could be up even higher in the arm. So we look for those things when we do our assessment of people having these complaints and conditions. So that could be another reason why.
Okay. I think we touched upon every question.
All right, cool. Yeah, nice. So this is I think our last one with Michelle. She's off to nursing school, right?
Yeah. Couple days,
Which is cool. So, and you're going down south.
I'm going down south for about a year. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. So
it'll be exciting. It'll be fun,
weather.
Yeah, good weather, but it'll be fun to start, learning what I want to do now and then, preparing for that career. So it's very exciting.
Congrats. We'll miss you.
Thank you. Miss all you guys too. This has been great. And I know it's going to keep going and it's going to be, doing better and better every time.
Thank you. All right, great, everyone. Thank you for watching us live. What else? Yeah, send us any questions that could be anonymous. You don't have to say, hey, it's so and so. You can send us questions somehow anonymously. How can they do that? Can they? I know I just said it.
I think we can try to make something like a form for it to be sent anonymously.
Okay. All right. So we'll do something like that. And I know sometimes asking questions and putting yourself out there is, you feel a little vulnerable and nervous. So let's definitely set something like that up so that if people have questions, they can get it to us. We don't have to know who they are. We just are, answering.
Yeah, we already I was just told we already have a form. So
Oh,
I think
cool.
we can post the link out, send it possibly in an email. I think we've actually done that before.
Okay.
And I'll go through anonymously.
Okay, cool. Very good. Well, thanks everyone for joining in. It was awesome.
Thank you.
I say too many times. But it was awesome. It's good to be able to answer questions, give a little guidance if that's, how you guys take it. And we look forward to doing this again in 2 Tuesdays from now, maybe 3 Tuesdays from now. It might be 3, not 2. So have a good rest of your day. Have a great week.
Thank you so much. Bye.